Hello there, it's Chris Reardon here, welcoming you to today's United Kingdom talk. Yes, as you can hear and see, listen, we're out in the garden again. We like to spend as much time outside in the garden as possible. God knows we get so little of that here in the UK, what with the nice weather and that. This is possibly the only couple of weeks nice weather that we're going to have this year. I'm afraid that's how it works here. Anyway, keep watching and listening to find out exactly how the weather is going here. Of course, recent news from last week, talking of weather and that sort of thing, the most dreadful incident in Burma when they had the cyclone last week. Can you just imagine that? Thousands and thousands of people have been killed there. Just awful. And I think sometimes here in the UK we do complain about the weather, and I've mentioned this a few times before, but at least we don't get the extremes that you do get in other parts of the world. I know there's some people watching at the moment who live in the shadows of tornadoes and hurricanes and things like that, and just awful things, and we are kind of lucky not to have that here. On the other hand, you know, if you have the odd, I don't know, tornado and hurricane and things like that, if no one dies, then perhaps a few smashed up houses and things like that, is that a small price to pay for nice weather? No, I don't think so. I think we're probably luckier here, aren't we, when we have the kind of average weather, and now and again beautiful days like it is today. I'm sitting here in the garden at the moment. Again, the birds are singing, it's looking lovely. I've got another load of washing hanging up. What I tend to do with the washing is I wait for nice weather. Then I don't have to turn the tumble dryer on. You see, saving me even more pennies to invest in better equipment to make better programmes. How's that, eh? Well, we're not sponsored. By the way, you can sponsor if you want. Just for a small monthly fee, you could be sponsoring this programme. Pardon? Oh, well, please yourselves, don't bother, I'll do it on my own back. Yeah, the sky is, let's have a look up there, it's blue today and totally unbroken, there's no cloud whatsoever up in that sky today, I'm pleased to say. On the last show there was a little bit of cloud, you might have seen, if you were watching, you might have seen it going dark and then bright and then dark and then bright. By the way, if you're listening to this, and you've never watched before, it's very simple to watch. You just go onto the internet and you type in unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Alright, unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, and there you will find certainly the most recent, the last couple of months' programmes, all in audio as well as video as well. And just click the little play button in the middle, okay? I noticed the jobs are starting to build up in the house. Now, I'm sure, ladies, especially, this happens to you quite often. Jobs are, because I tend to leave things for a while. Jobs are building up in the house. For example, I know when I finish the show today, I should have watered the plants earlier. There's not too many plants in the house, to be honest. I did have, last year I went through this phase of going out to the garden centre and I kept buying houseplants. And they look very nice. And all through the winter, I had these lovely houseplants on the window ledges and on the floor in the living room and on the window ledge in the bedroom. And they did look nice. Come the summer, this is last summer, which we hardly had in here because it was mostly cloudy the entire summer. Come the summer, I decided to put the plants outside to give them a bit of fresh air. And once I'd put them outside, I became blatantly aware of how much brighter it was inside the house. Because there were so many plants. It's true. There were so many plants that were blocking out the light. So I didn't, after winter had finished, I didn't bring them back in again. I've got I think I've got two like trailing type plants. They're up high on a shelf, so they trail down some couple of bits of cheap furniture I've got indoors. And there's this other I don't know what they're called, but they're very pretty. I'm afraid I am not. Is it a botanist? Is that what a plant? Am I a botanist? A plant person? Or is it a gardener? Oh, I'm not sure now. Well, I'm neither of those things. I am an amateur gardener. and an amateur talk show host as well. So the jobs are building up. There's the hoovering. I need to do that as well when I finish the show. The plants, there's other plants that need to be, there's one of them in particular desperately needs repotting. All through last year, and this is really tall, this one. It's in the corner in the living room. I've had it about 3 years, and I've never repotted it. And every year comes round, and I think to myself, I must repot that, and then I keep saying, I'll do it tomorrow. It's one of those, you know, we'll do it tomorrow. Do you ever have jobs like that? You know you do, don't lie to me, huh? Well, do it tomorrow. And it never quite happens, does it? Well, that was 3 years ago, and I must do that, okay? We might even do a live report while I'm doing my plants, all right? Talking of plants, I need to make some hanging baskets. Now, the last couple of years, I've been a little bit lazy. It's true. I don't know if this would be a sin, Suko. Do I need to confess this one? I'm not sure. I will confess this one, Suko, just in case. Because it's always better to confess just in case, isn't it? Always better to confess rather than take the risk of carrying that sin on my shoulders and not having mentioned it. So I will confess this, Suko. Bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. The last 3 years, I know, I mean, if I ever went to confession, when eventually I go to confession again, and I shall at some point, I'll be in there for years. Years, dear. There's so much to tell. There really is. But today's sin, Suko, bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. The last 3 years, I have bought ready-made hanging baskets from the garden centre. Shock horror, bless me. Huh? It's only a time thing, that's all it is, Suko. I'm not lazy, I like doing these things. And this year, I've decided to go and get one of my old hanging baskets and then buy the little plants for it and do it all myself. Wouldn't that be nice? There's a bloke just down there, come the summer. Can't think that he's done it yet, actually. I'll have to go out there with the camera and take a couple of pictures for you. But he does the entire side of his house every year is hanging baskets. And he keeps winning awards. Now, I don't think that... I'm not even going to... Oh, I've got an itchy nose. What does that mean? Is that money? Itchy nose? I don't know. I don't know if he does it to win the prize, but nevertheless, year in, year out, he wins these gardening prizes for his hanging baskets, all on the side of his house. It's true. Do you think I should attempt such a thing? Or should I, because he's an elderly guy, I think I'll leave it to him. God, yes. I mean, once I start doing my hanging baskets, there's no stopping me, dear. Pink stuff... Oh, there's a wasp out here. Pink stuff flying all over the place. It's very pretty. Very pretty indeed. So that's got to be done. Hanging baskets, the plants. The windows need cleaning. They're not too bad. The windows are right in front of me. They're not too bad. I found that you only need to clean windows 3 times a year. It's true. All these window cleaners that come round every 6 weeks, you're wasting your money, dear. 3 or 4 times a year maximum. My sister's the same. She says exactly the same as me. Because it costs a lot of money to clean. Oh, it's such an itchy nose today. Well, I hope there's nothing hanging out there, is there? Oh, I'm sorry. I've got such an itchy nose. I'm not going to wipe it off. So all of a sudden that's happened. There's always some sort of affliction I've got while I'm sitting here chatting to you, isn't there? Have you noticed that? Either a cough or a sniff. And today... it just feels like there's something dangling from the end, but there isn't. There's nothing there. I don't think there's anything there. Nothing there at all. One should be glad this is not high definition, I think. My sister says the same. You do not need to clean windows more than a few times a year. 3 or 4 times a year maximum. And then there's the incredibly dangerous task of cleaning the solar panels once or twice a year. When I get up the ladder with my hose and my... long window cleaner type thing, and I do those. Yes, it's all got to be done. All these things have got to be done. I made a list, you see. A list. Not a list, but a list. Windows. And finally, something... well, I've already done this last night, actually. There's a chair in the kitchen that the cats like to sit on. And of course, coming into summer, the fur is dropping out all over the place. Now, I know what some of you are going to say now. Why don't you pick up the fur and attach it to the ever-increasing bald spot on your head? Do you really think that's a good idea? Come on. I mean, people will be coming up to me in clubs and stroking me, won't they? They will be stroking me. And if the glue's not good enough, they'll end up with a handful of fur. Which is not a good idea. So there we have a list of jobs that I've got to do at the moment. Incidentally, I'm wearing today the orange and orangey striped shirt, as promised, especially for Suko today, as she requested that I wear it. All right, Suko? Yeah, got it on today, my darling. Look at that. Now, what else? Yesterday, I had a very nice time. I had a night off yesterday. And do you remember Richard in Birmingham, who I used to often mention? Well, I went round to his house yesterday, excuse me. Went round to his house last night and took him out to dinner at a burger restaurant. Now, really good quality burgers here. This is not your normal run-of-the-mill, everyday fast food chain. And I'm saying this, Suko, bless me, Suko, for I have not sinned, because these are gourmet burgers. You have never tasted anything like it, and I should blooming well think so for the price, dear. God almighty. Well, for two of us, I paid about £26, so that's about £13 each. But, as I always say, you get what you pay for, and the quality of this food was astounding. It really was. And once you'd finished it, Suko, I didn't feel that I'd eaten a load of fat. I'm sure you know what I mean. We had a burger each. I had a kiwi burger, which consists of 100% pure beef, as they all say that, don't they? There's a bit of lettuce. There's a great big fat bit of tomato. There's a bit of beetroot. There was an egg. What else was there? Oh, there was onion. I think that was it. And we had a bowl of strips between us. And he had a cheeseburger. Absolutely delicious. But not just that. So I don't know, Suko. You're going to have to absolve me or tell me whether I sinned. Oh, have I dropped something there? No. Tell me whether I've sinned or not by eating a burger and chips. But it was a gourmet burger and chips. Okay? I haven't walked. And you can hardly call it fast food, because you sit there and eat it. Not only that, the company was great. My friend Richard, who I speak to most days on the phone, have done for the last about 5 or 6 years, I think. Used to work with him when I worked at the Black Cap in Camden Town about 5 years ago. He was there at the same time. And it was lovely to just sit there and chat about things face to face rather than on the phone. After that, and he took me for a little drive, because Richard lives in Hampstead, which is a very, very affluent area of London. A lot of lovely houses there. And he took me to a particular road called the Bishop's Avenue. Okay? Those of you with internet, type it in and look it up. It's called the Bishop's Avenue in Hampstead. And it does start with the, T-H-E, okay? The Bishop's Avenue in Hampstead. He took me down that road and showed me the most incredible houses you have ever seen in your life. The only thing is, although a lot of them were worth, well, they all are, and they have some flats down there as well, although they're worth a lot of money, those houses and the flats, some of them are just grotesque. These are the sort of thing, boys and girls, that you do when you've got loads and loads of money and you don't know what to, millions and millions of pounds, and you don't know what to do with it. You get a house designed and you have it built in a very posh area like the Bishop's Avenue. Now, some of the houses are very, very nice. Beautifully done. Some of them are just utterly and totally vulgar. And a lot of them have got these false pillars at the front. And there was also some really kind of what I would call posh flats. Now, these flats are going for £3 or £4 million each. I'm sure they're very big inside, but we pulled up along one lot, and it was all lit inside. Well, I'm sorry, it looked to me like a hospital. I said, is that a hospital? He said, no, that's flats that no one seems to like. Really awful, dreadful design. You can see in through the windows. And of course, the bit, I mean, not into the people's house. They're obviously the front of the flats. And they've lit it all so much with fluorescent tubing that it actually looks like you're looking at the front of a hospital. So I shan't be buying one of those, I'm afraid. Certainly not for that money anyway. I don't suppose I could ever afford to live in such a place like that, but it's a beautiful place. And some of the other houses, they are so big. They are enormous, these houses. And Richard was saying, you know, when you've got that sort of money, you've got to have security, I suppose, and lights around the house. But some of them, honestly, it's like daylight. You've never seen some houses so brightly lit as these, and you kind of sit there thinking, you know, while you're at your little house or your flat, wherever you are, changing one or two of the light bulbs to the energy efficient ones, what is the point in doing that when people with loads and loads of money, they just don't care and they leave everything on? Why? Because they can afford it. And I think that's wrong. Those people should be doing the same as the rest of us, trying to conserve energy and all that sort of thing. Just because you've got loads of money doesn't mean you leave all the lights on all the time. And I mentioned in the last show, it's a little bit like, you know, you do all these bits and pieces at home to try and help the world, and then you go past offices in the middle of London with the lights on all day and all night. How many of you, I wonder, have gone into a block of offices during the middle of summer when the sun's pouring in through the windows and the fluorescent lights are still on? Why? Because the staff will tell you, why should we worry? We're not paying for it. How many times have you heard that one, eh? Dreadful. So they're the houses. So very nice going to see all those really posh, what should we say, posh pussy houses, okay? Posh houses. Some of them, you see, the thing is, just because they're big houses, as I'm sure Wayne the Butler would tell you this, my friend Wayne the Butler, just because they're big houses doesn't necessarily mean they are class. It's a bit, to me, like cars and that. Oh, what's that? Oh, little cat's down there on the floor, just sitting on their feet. What are you doing down there? Yeah, it's a little bit like some of the cars. Now, I would consider a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, perhaps, a classy car. A Porsche or a BMW, to me, is not a classy car. It is an expensive car. It is almost a boy's toy, but for me, they're not classy cars. Some people would say they are, not for me. Class is like, I can't explain it really. Let's think, what examples of, oh, Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace. That, when you look at that, that is a classy building, isn't it? Whereas, oh, I don't know what to say now. Whereas some of the houses down the Bishop's Avenue are just not classy, they are vulgar. Kind of, look what I've got type places. And there's the difference there. Personally, what would I like? I'd like, well, I wouldn't like a great big house. My house is big enough. I'd like a big garden. I mean, my garden is nice. I've got a nice sized garden here. It's quite reasonably easy to keep it trim and what have you. It's very lovely out here in the summer. The only thing is the hedge. Oh, well, that's another job I had to add. Let me write that down, actually. Where's my pen gone, Katie? Have you nicked my pen? I've got the cat down there in front of me. Excuse me, if you don't mind. She's grabbing hold of my foot then. They want to play, don't she? I don't know where the pen's gone now. I'm sure I brought one out here. There it is. So what's the other thing? A hedge. Now the hedge, that needs to be done very soon because, and I'll tell you why, because if you leave it, the wood gets really thick and then the cutter will have trouble getting through it. So I must do that. Might even do that this afternoon in this beautiful sunlight, actually. So yes, wouldn't mind a nice big garden. Great big garden. One of those gardens where perhaps you'd have to get on a tractor, like a mini tractor, and cut the grass. That'd be good, wouldn't it, eh? Great big garden. That's all I'd ask for. But as I've said before, I'm kind of very happy with this house here, and I do feel attached to it. Perhaps one shouldn't get emotionally involved with your house. What do you think? I think I've become emotionally involved with this house very early on, almost as soon as I moved into it. Love it here. Even though it would be very nice to move to where my sister is. I'm looking for options at the moment, a little bit fed up with things at the moment. Not this, not chatting to you, but I do get fed up sometimes with the same old routine, day in, day out, getting up at a certain time. You know, a couple of jobs maybe you might not be too particularly happy about. I was talking to another friend of mine, David, who used to be a DJ. You remember him? He's a minicab driver now. I've told you about him a few times before. And he's about 5 years older than me. And I remember him years ago saying to me that he was fed up with this, fed up with that. And I was talking to him last night on the telephone on the way home, about 11:30 at night. And he was saying, I think it's a stage that you kind of all go through when you're a specific age, around about 40, 45, which is where I am now. It seems to be a stage that you go through where you sort of kind of start taking account of what have you done so far and all this, that and the other, and what do you want to do. Trouble with me is I'm in the safety zone. The things I do are reasonably safe. No entertainer job is safe completely, ever. Not even the biggest stars. The job is not safe. It's not like a 9-to-5 job. Mind you, no job is safe now, I suppose, is it really? And I'm kind of at the point now where I'd like to try other things. I know it sounds stupid. I've got a few things in my mind I'd like to do. I'd like to work on a cruise ship. I'd like to drive a bus. I'd like to drive a train. And I'd like to go out to other countries and help starving people or something like that. That might have surprised you. I would like to go and help maybe children in Africa or somewhere like that who've got these incredibly terrible diseases, and give them injections and perhaps try and look after them a little bit like that sort of thing. Maybe go to countries and help people build wells and get fresh, clean running water, something that you and I take for granted. There's many people in other countries who don't have access to fresh, clean water. Seems impossible, really, doesn't it? When we're sitting here, all we've got to do is turn a tap on. So there's a few little bits and pieces I'd still like to do. When do you do them? Is there anything you'd like to do? Maybe you're in a job now which kind of ticks over and you're not totally and utterly, absolutely hate it. Which I don't. I don't absolutely and totally hate any of my jobs. But sometimes you think to yourself, why am I still doing this? Because we've only got one life, haven't we? Sometimes you bump into people who have had many jobs. Maybe they're only 25 years old and they've already worked in many different aspects of life. Are they perhaps happier than us by having so many jobs? They get fed up, they leave one and start on another. So by the time you're 40, you would have had 10, 20 jobs maybe. The only trouble with that is, of course, you never move up the ladder. I think you've got to stay in one thing to move up the ladder, haven't you? What about you? Is there anything that you'd like to do? Or what do you think about what I've just said? Do let us know. There is an email to the show. It's Chris at United Kingdom Talk. unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. One other thing, at Richard's, after we'd had the meal, I went up to Richard's flat where I'd never been before, and he's got, as I say, he's worked with me before in a venue in Camden, and he's got a collage of pictures on his living room wall, which he can add or take away. It's basically a board with some pictures stuck to it. And on there I appear about 5 or 6 times in various guises, or standing next to various people. And some of these pictures are 5, 6 years old. And you look at that and remember those times. Unfortunately, you also look at that, remember the times, and also realise that you cannot go back to those. That period has gone. And I always find that kind of a little bit sad, don't you? The email, once again, it's Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, we're going to do some emails now. If I can find where I've put them. There we are. That's got them there. I had loads more to tell you, but we haven't quite got to that. I really want to do some emails today. First of all, from Suko. Good afternoon, Suko, who's written, did I say wrote? Dreadful piece of grammar. Delete that from your English vocabulary immediately, because it doesn't exist. Well, that was very unlike me to use a word not in the English language dictionary, isn't it? Wroten. That doesn't even exist. Written, dear. I do apologise. Written. I'll be pulled up for that one. I will. And Suko writes forwards a email that she sent a while ago. I didn't know. You must keep all the emails you send me, Suko. Do you? Are you a collector? She's collecting emails. Now, Suko wrote on the subject of cats way back in September. And, of course, we have a new friend and listener and viewer to the show, Susan, who actually works with cats and has got a beautiful bobcat called Talon, isn't it? Talon. Suko re-forwards this, shall we say, re-forwards this from September, and says, "Dear Chris, someone once said cats are intended to teach us that not everything in nature has a function. Whoever said it could not be further from the truth. However, there is a distinct difference between what one can do with a cat and what a cat thinks it exists in your life for. My cat, Jasmine, she is my personal trainer. She's got me throwing toys, running after them, jumping over them, and bending and lifting them on a daily basis. She is a tough taskmaster, but I have never been in better shape. On the other hand, my cat May likes to amaze and amuse us by imitating different cuts of meat. One day she'll be a pot roast, the next a leg of lamb, then a Chateaubriand. I don't know what that is, dear. What's a chateau? Is it the Chateaubriand? I don't know what that is. Suko, what is a Chateaubriand? That's a new one for me, dear. But my personal favourite is her meatloaf impression. It's hilarious and so realistic, I can almost taste it. She also does good appliance imitations, i.e. her toaster is absolutely brilliant. I'm imagining there that now and again she springs up on all fours. Is that right, Suko? Do you know, I've just wondered, if I put this microphone in my pocket, will that still work like that? I'm not sure. I think it will, won't it? I haven't got to hold it, and my hands are free now at last. I'm free, free as a bird. Fly me to the moon and let me see the stars above. Sorry, getting carried away. We're breaking into song mode then, aren't we? Why didn't I think of putting that in my pocket ages ago? What a good idea, look. The hands are free. Suko says, as far as what I use my cats for, I think you should use them for profit. After all, they should earn their keep. My cats are muses. I love to fly. There's that wasp again. It's attacking me. I'm being attacked by what? You see, this is one of the disadvantages to being in the garden. As far as what I use my cats for, my cats are muses. I love to take pictures of them in embarrassing or compromising positions. I've sold a few to Playcat and Cat House magazine. Many people write books about their cats. I'm presently in negotiations with a publisher. Our feline companions are very helpful unpacking groceries and recycling paper bags. They certainly do, don't they? The very industrious cat may even build little shelters and beds for themselves out of them. Oh yes, absolutely. How many times have we... What is that? Is that wasp going to go away? How many times have we all, those of us who have got cats, how many times have you put down a bag or a box on the floor, walked away, come back, and there it is, the cat's inside it? You've done that as well, have it? Has yours done that as well? They are also good alarm clocks, barometers, feet warmers, and transportable still life art. Of course, you can only use them if they let you, but you can negotiate with leftover tuna fish or chicken liver. Oh yes. I don't very rarely cook a chicken now, but when I do a chicken in the oven, I always give the leftovers to the cats, and they're so grateful, aren't they? They are grateful, our little babies. If you have a long-haired cat, you can practice interesting hairdos on it. Of course, you must brush the animal daily and collect the fur so that when needed, you can glue... Oh, there's that wasp. That attacked me then. Did you see that? It's gone now. Now it's gone. It had a good whack then. It's gone. Did you see that? It dropped down into my hand. Oh, I've come over all hot now. Oh, that scared me, that did. Why are we so scared of such a tiny little thing, eh? Oh. Am I sweating? Am I sweating? Back to this. Let me see. Here we are. If you have a long-haired cat, you can practice interesting hairdos on it. And whether long-haired or short-haired, one must also keep a cat with fur that matches one's hair. Of course, you must brush the animal daily and collect the fur so that when needed, you can glue to the top of one's head when those pesky little pink spots appear. What are you suggesting, Suko? Are you suggesting that there might be a thin area on top of my head? Is that wasp? Is that a fly or a wasp? I don't know what it is now. It's back. It's blooming well back again, isn't it? I'm going to have that thing in a minute. I tell you, I'm going to have that. It knows it's I'm looking at it because it's flying all over the place now. I'm going to have it. Right, where's that box? Just a minute now. I can't stand it. Go away. Horrible thing. How quick can I be? There it goes. Got it. Ah! Got it. Got it. Let me get my box. Just a minute. It's probably hiding under the box now. Gone. Thank you, Lord. There we are. Gone. That teach the thing to come around me like that all the time. Supposed to be a whole family. I'll arrive in a minute. Great big buzzes. Do you remember that film, The Bees? Well, that was scary, wasn't it? The whole family will arrive in a minute and attack me, probably. Never mind. Let's see. Let me see. Of course, you must brush it. Pesky little spots appear. And finally, cats are indispensable when it comes to eradicating one's home of insects, mice, rats, bats, and occasional gorgon. You don't get gorgons in New York, do you? I find that rather scary, Suko. Purringly yours, Suko. She says some other quotes about cats. Of all God's creatures, there is only one who cannot be made slave of the lash. That one is the cat. If man could be crossed with the cat, it would improve the man, but it would deteriorate the cat. It's back. The fly's back. It's back. The fly is back. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to get this. I'm going to get my box ready to jump on it eventually. Another quote, dogs come when they are called, cats take a message and get back to you later. It's true. Dogs believe they are human, cats believe they are God. Yes. Another one. I love my cats because I love my home, and little by little they become its visible soul. Oh, that's nice. And she sent some pictures as well, so thank you for those, Suko. Now, I'm a little bit just trying to time myself here. Yes, right, let me see. Bum bum bum. There we are. Okay. Now, Suko, as regular listeners and viewers to the show will know, recently lost her mum, Betty, just a few weeks ago. And we did put a couple of little photographs at the end of one of the shows. If you want to have a look back on that, just go to the shows in April by going to unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. On the left hand side you'll see all the months since the show started in October 2005. If you go to to April 2008, you know, just last month, you will see a show there dedicated to Betty. And right at the very end of that show, we've put up some pictures of Suko's mum. Now, I did promise to read this out after a period of time had passed between Betty leaving this earth and going somewhere a lot better, I hope anyway. Somewhere where one day I hope to broadcast from continually, 24 hours a day. And Betty's up there now. And here is what Suko wrote about her mum. First of all, a little bit about her mum first, and then I'm going to read to you the eulogy that was read out at Betty's funeral, at Suko's request. First of all, a bit about Betty, her mum. Dear Chris, Mum was born in 1922 and lived through the Depression, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Kennedy assassination, and the more recent wars, and seeing housing, heating, clothing, food, and just about everything, prices going through the roof, as indeed they are now, aren't they, Suko? She and my father bought the house in the 1950s for, this is in America, okay, $8,700. Wow. And we sold it last year for a few $100,000. We actually put a modest price on the house, and it sold the first day on the market. But she couldn't fathom having that kind of money and never thought she had enough to afford things. It's interesting, that, Suko. I'm the same. Believe it or not, I'm exactly the same. Now, I do a lot of work. I've been careful with the money over the years. You know, I do a little bit with property as well. But my mum, probably exactly like yours, Suko, taught me never to waste things. Just because you go out and you've got £100 or $100 in your pocket doesn't mean you need to go out and spend it. A lot of people, they would spend it straight away. Their money's like water, running through their fingers all the time, never saving anything. But I too worry about whether I'm going to afford a meal in a few years' time. And I'm serious, I do. I worry about that. And yet, most of the people I talk to, who I know, including my accountant, tell me to stop being so stupid. But I do worry. Suko says, we'd go shopping and she'd see something she liked, and I'd say, buy it. And she'd say, do I have enough? Exactly the same as me. Or I'd say, I'm sending Jessica and Julian $200 from you for their birthdays, and she'd say, I'd love to, but do I have enough? I'd say, Mum, you have plenty of money. She just never got it. But you have to remember that being a product of the Depression and World War II, she never knew what it was like to sacrifice and do without excesses, something later generations don't often appreciate. I beg your pardon, I got that wrong now. I put a never then, didn't I? I'll do that bit again. But you have to remember that being a product of the Depression and World War II, she knew what it was like to sacrifice and do without excesses, something later generations don't often appreciate. And she puts in brackets, yesterday I took Jade and Mimiko shopping for clothes to wear to the funeral. Mimi is going to sing Amazing Grace. Now that was my mum's favourite hymn, Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Lovely song. And Jade will read the essay she wrote that you read on the show quite some time ago. I asked them if there was anything they would love to have to remember Grandma by. Mimi wanted Ed Hardy sneakers and Jade wanted a real Coach bag. Not exactly what I had in mind, although just before my dad died, he had given me money for my birthday and I bought a Coach bag which I treasure and will never part with. I told them I would buy them from Grandma, but they would have to promise to keep them forever, and they promised they would. Thanks for being my friend, Suko. Now, Suko also, of course, wrote the eulogy as read at the funeral of her mum, Betty, just a few weeks ago, and here it is. My mother, my best friend, Betty Lila Goldstein. 4/21/08. My mother didn't have a college education. She didn't speak 5 languages. She never even got a driver's license. But when my mother walked into a room, she could light it up. She always found something beautiful in each person she met and told them so. When she moved to Rockville Centre almost 2 years ago, I encouraged her to join the Sandal Senior Centre, which she reluctantly did. In no time, she became one of their most popular members. Everyone loved Betty, the staff, and the other members. She formed a special bond with Sister Mary, who did the weekly sing-along, and plied her with Hershey kisses and Tootsie Rolls for knowing the words to almost every song. She even had some male admirers. Everyone who met her would say to me, "I love your mother." She was very cute and funny, but would often embarrass me, telling everyone what a great daughter I was, and telling every Asian person she met that she had both Chinese and Japanese granddaughters. If I can just explain to those of you here in the UK, when Suko says Asian, she doesn't mean Indian or Pakistani, she means Chinese, Japanese, okay? Over on that side of the world, Asian does sort of incorporate a lot more people than we do here. Here in the UK, Asian would tend to mean 99% of the time people from India, Pakistan, that kind of area. We don't usually refer to Chinese or Japanese people as Asian. We would refer to you as perhaps Chinese, okay? Just to clear that up there, so if you're wondering what I mean by that here in the UK, all right? A day didn't go by that she didn't say to me, "Have I ever told you what a wonderful daughter you are?" It became part of our daily dialogue, and I would answer, "Yes, I know. I'm a wonderful daughter. I miss that." The most wonderful thing about my mother is that she lived 100% for her children and grandchildren. Our wishes were her desire. If we were happy, she was happy. If we were sad, she ached. She was so proud of each and every one of us. Her sons, Gary, for his art and music, Bruce, for all of his many show business awards, for me, just being me, I guess. and her granddaughters Jessica for making her a great grandmother, Mimiko for her fabulous singing voice, Jade for her amazing dancing talent, and her great-grandson Julian for being the most amazing 2-year-old in the history of mankind. Mum, I'm so glad we made you proud. If I may, I'd like to thank a few people who I could not have gotten through the past few months without. Thank you, Jennifer Cress, for graciously spending the last few months sleeping at my mother's home and attending to her needs in the middle of the night. I want to thank Dr. Wendy Ballapole and Kathy and Jane and the staff at Garden City Oncology for their professionalism, support and friendship throughout the 20 years my mother fought lymphoma. I want to thank the Hospice of New York for their compassion and support these last few months. June, Diana, Dr. Swartz, Chad, whose mum said she was like a grandson. She loved those teeth. And Anne-Marie, who spent the last couple of months caring for my mother, keeping her clean, fed and making her laugh. Anne-Marie would walk in every morning and my mother would reach up to hold her face. She could no longer speak clearly, but it was her way of telling you that she appreciated the love and the care you gave her. And I must thank my mother's dear companion and friend, Ma, who treated my mother with such love and gentleness. My mother would tell me all the time what a wonderful woman she is. Ma, Miss Betts, truly loved you. And most of all, I want to thank my husband Jerry and my daughter Jade for generously sharing with me Grandma. Mum, I can't imagine life without you, but I'm lucky that you touched my friends the way you did, and they can share in remembering the good times with you. And I thank God for blessing me and my brothers and our families with the most loving, gracious, beautiful mother a family could ever dream of having. Thank you, Suko, for sharing that with us all. Beautiful piece of writing. Absolutely beautiful piece of writing. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. You're obviously doing something out there. It's one of the things you get when you're sitting outside like this, but that is noisy now. I don't know what they're doing out there. Can you still hear me all right? It adds to the ambience, doesn't it? Adds to the ambience. But a beautiful piece of writing there. Reminiscent of my mother, really, who also thought the world of myself and my sister, and of course the grandchildren, my sister's children. Unfortunately, my mum never really got to see my son personally, so your grandmother was very lucky there that you have such a close family, which is fantastic. Thank you, Suko, for sharing that with us. And Suko, I know one of the ways you deal with death, I don't think, certainly my mum has been gone 8 years and Dad has been gone even longer, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. 1996. And I don't think it's something that you ever get over. You have to learn to live with it, and you kind of find things to do. You find things to do, I think. In your case, writing. You're a fantastic writer, Suko. I don't suppose you make any money out of it, but does that matter? It's like this show. I don't make any money out of doing this show. Would be nice to do so, yes, but not that important. I can live. As you said in the email there, your mum didn't really know how much she had, and I think it's the same sort of case for me, really. I just shove it away and forget about it. Maybe that's the right thing to do for when you're older, I don't know. On the other hand, you don't really kind of want to be the richest person in the graveyard, do you, you know? But does it matter as long as we're all happy? Suko loses herself in writing. I think, lose myself in work a lot. My sister, well, she's got a husband and a family, so it's all different ways of dealing with it, isn't it? I hope you can still hear me amongst that racket that's going on there. Will you shut up? Oh, dear me. I'm just trying to remember. I'm just trying to work out what that noise is. I think they might be cleaning one of those automatic path sweepers going down the back of the fence there. Now, don't knock my clock over again, cat, or I won't know what the time is. Thanks, Suko. Some more emails from Suko in the next show, okay? Not on completely different lines, on rather amusing lines, aren't they, Suko, the other ones? Hello to Julian. Now, I'm very pleased to announce that Julian has now got in contact with me. Julian and Romy from Argentina, who have been with us for over a year listening to the show and have now moved to Argentina. Now, you may remember in a show a few weeks ago that they did pop into the Golden Lion to join in the karaoke. Incidentally, the karaoke at the Golden Lion is now on Wednesday nights. Remember that Wednesday nights at the Golden Lion now. And Julian, I was a little bit concerned because I hadn't heard from him for a couple of weeks since I saw him now. I thought I'd given him a bad impression. He didn't want to know me anymore, but it's not true. Him and his new wife still love little Chrissy. They love it. And I love you both too. Could I be a godfather when you have babies? Eh? I could be a godfather, couldn't I? Will it be named after me, your child? I do hope so. We name Julian and Romy's child Chris. Well, then it could be a girl or a boy, couldn't it, you see? A little bit like myself, really. Julian writes, hello, Chris, how are you? We got that flat we mentioned in the Golden Lion. Yeah, they've moved into a place. No agency, but the landlord is really nice. Now, he's telling me that because he told me he was renting a flat privately, and I was a little bit concerned with that. The property that I rent out is all done via an estate agent, so there's always someone in the middle. Now, that has the disadvantages of, well, it costs you money to do that. But it has the advantages, the sun's just gone in now, but it has the advantages of not having to worry too much about things. The estate agent take care of everything. Julian says, our flat is newly refurbished and furnished. He had to buy a sofa, so we asked him to get a sofa bed. He even let us choose one from a catalogue. Sounds like you might have a good landlord there, Julian. I'm a good landlord. I'm not blowing my own trumpet there, I really am. When something goes wrong in one of the properties that I own, I tend to get it, I want it sorted then and there. I want happy tenants. You always want happy tenants. Is the sun coming back out? Oh, where's all that cloud come from? There's no cloud before we started, was there? Have I gone a bit dim? Have I gone dim? Am I dim? Hang on, what's the time? Well, another 5 minutes, haven't we? I started working on the 21st of April, and I catch up with some of your shows which I was not able to download for some complicated technical reasons. Now we have internet access at home. After work, I've been very busy with other freelance projects that I didn't finish before leaving Buenos Aires. I still haven't finished them, by the way. Shame on us. Yes, shame on you. Finish those jobs, or you'll end up with a long list of jobs that I've got to do at the moment, that I told you about at the beginning of the show. It's a liberty, that's what it is. Last weekend, a friend came to visit us from Switzerland with his car. Oh, it's expensive there, Switzerland. On Saturday, we went to Brighton in the afternoon. My left eye started to get red and really painful. I went to see a doctor and later to Moorfields Eye Hospital. Well, that sounds quite serious then. They gave me some eye drops and now I'm a lot better. Still need to put on eye drops for 4 weeks. And what on earth did you have there then? Just some eye infection, or did you have a sty come up or something like that? Oh. He says, we listened to the show in which you mentioned us and my work offer dilemma. Incidentally, there's a postal address. If you want to write into the show, I'm about to give you the postal address. All right, there's a flyer going, look. It was really nice. For your information, I'm still in my original job. Yeah, Julian wasn't sure what to do. Whether to stay in the job that he was first offered, because they'd waited for him to come over and everything, and you know, been very patient waiting for him to get there. In that time, someone else had offered him another job for more money, and I advised him to stay with the original job. Although less money, they were obviously keen to have him and had waited for him, and he has indeed done that. It was really nice. The people are really nice, and they've been very helpful again when I had an eye problem. We're looking forward to visit you in one of your venues, but for now, I need to work in the evenings to finish these freelance projects once and for all. Also, you mentioned about doing something in one of your free nights days. We'd love to, and I hope we'll have more free time next week. And he's got a new mobile phone number, which I've got, and that's from Julian. Thank you, Julian. And at the moment, sorry, I've disappeared from sight then, didn't I? At the moment, Julian, I'm working every night at the moment. Now, there is a reason for that, which I can't go into at the moment. Okay, it's going to have to be our secret. Well, it's my secret because you don't know. So at the moment, I am working every night, but it's only a temporary thing. Okay. Now, the postal address, boys and girls. I've still got some emails here. One from CW, our friend in Australia. Another chap talking about the recent death of one of his members of family, but he wants to remain nameless. And another couple from Suko here, and David as well. Hello, David Barron. Nice to hear from you, sir. And I'll read those in the next show. Now, meantime, if you want to put pen to paper, the post address to write to the show is Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, PO Box 4073. Bracknell, Bracknell, RG 429ED. Once again, it's Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, PO Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG 429ED. United Kingdom. Alright, and the email as always it's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Time to go. Thanks as always for joining me for the show. I'll see you in a couple of days' time. For myself, Chris Reardon, bye bye now.